If you're not talking about your company every day, you're doing something wrong. Like some mentor told me that, like, you just have to be talking constantly about it. I was just doing a lot of typical marketing emails, right? Just like product emails. And I want to do better this year is be a content creator. So we're creating a newsletter. So it's like a quick format. It's like 3 journal prompts. It's called Write It, Say It, Try It, Explore It.
Welcome to the DTC Insider podcast, where online business owners come to find actionable tips and tactics to grow their businesses. Now, here's your host, Brian Roisentul.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the DTC Insider podcast. I'm Brian Roisentul, your host, and I'm super excited to chat today with Annette Furio, the founder of Season Journals. Hi, Annette. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So why don't you start by introducing yourself and Season Journals as well?
Absolutely. I'm Annette Furio. I'm the founder of Season Journals. We create journals and tools and products for intentional days and milestone seasons. So our primary product is journals. We started in the wedding space doing engagement and marriage journals. We were primarily working for couples. These journals were designed for couples to use together. And we've since expanded our product line to go more into full holistic wellness and journals for every day and journals that anybody can use outside of a specific season of life. But really, we're all about relationships, whether that's with yourself or with others through our products.
What inspired you to create this company and the journals specifically?
I was a designer by trade, so that was my background. And I also ran a wedding stationery company for 5 years prior to starting Season Journal. So I was working with many, many couples over those years, doing custom design for them. And I was at this point in their relationship where they're planning their wedding, they're getting closer, they are dealing with a lot of stress, and wedding planning is supposed to be a really fun time, but if you've known anybody wedding planning around this time, it's actually quite not. It can be very stressful. We're living in unrealistic expectation world with Pinterest and so there's a lot of education around that. So I wanted, after working with these couples, I knew I was going to move away from that business and I wanted to start a product-based business. That was kind of one of my requirements in my next venture in life. And I was trying to think, like, how can I serve this audience that I've served for the last 5 years, make something that would really help them get through, not just get through wedding planning, but actually maybe enjoy it a little bit, like bond with their partner a little bit. So with my background in design and stationery and the love of print, and I've always loved journaling. I've journaled forever, since as long as I can remember.
Wow.
So I was like, this is kind of a perfect merge of all my passions and skill sets, and like, let's create a set of journals. And I started with the engagement journal, but I knew that I would eventually broaden that to many different seasons of life. I knew the idea had legs, that it could really be expansive because there's so many different seasons of life that people are going through that need support through, and journaling could be this support. So I like to call that set of journals, both a keepsake, but also a tool. So you have this like keepsake journal at the end, but it has prompts within it that will actually help you build your relationship during these sometimes stressful seasons of life.
Yeah, I mean, I went through that and I can tell you that planning a wedding is definitely stressful. And so I was going to ask you, and you started, describing the journal a little bit by the end. And it's what's in the journal, I guess it's guided, it's not a blank journal. So what's in the journal, or a few examples, of course, of what people can find in there?
Exactly. So the engagement journal, I like to call a little bit of relationship building. So there's like conversation starters, there's different prompts for like how you want to plan your wedding and how you want to be intentional. Like, what are the things that are most important to you? Not just what colors do you like, although there's a little bit of that in there,
Yeah.
but it's more about like, what do you want to remember? How do you want to honor your guests? And also then we go through the next season is the marriage journal. And that is all about like your vision for your life together, your values together, documenting new traditions that you're creating, and then documenting every anniversary. We give the same set of prompts so that you can kind of see how you've changed over the years. So really it's you can document things like your traditions, travel, but there's also sections in there about like we know we're going to go through this change. Like maybe we're buying a house, maybe we're starting a family, maybe somebody's going back to school, maybe somebody's changing jobs, and having kind of worksheets in there or like how to manage or mitigate those changes, because there's always going to be change in a relationship, in a marriage. And so that is one section that's definitely unique to our
Yeah,
journal.
I mean, tell me about it. Yesterday we celebrated our anniversary. It's 17 years since we are together, and we have twins, a boy and a girl, 5-year-old. So when before they were born, my wife got a journal. That's why this, I can relate with this because she was very intentional about documenting everything in the babies' lives in the early stages even more. So everything that happened, they smiled for the first time or they did this for the first time, and it was like it's a lot of new stuff or new things that happens, to parents, and especially with twins, and especially during the pandemic, it was like a lot. So yeah, the journal was a great tool for us and for documenting. And I think last year we went through it with the kids, for the first time. Now they understand more. They're 5. So we were telling them a few stories and a few things we found in there that we totally forgot.
Oh my gosh, that is so special. And that's what I tell people, that it just takes a little bit of effort. It takes some work. It's not super easy. Like sometimes there's some resistance to journaling, but when you do it and you have that, and then you could share that with your kids down the road, like it makes it all so worthwhile. And even if you're doing it for yourself as well, like you could tell your personal growth, it has benefits in the moment, but it has benefits long after that
Yeah.
as well.
I am remembering now. It has nothing to do with product, but it's aligned with being intentional about future things, because this is your, writing what happens in your life now, but you also want to, depending on what you're writing about, you want to read it in the future as well, right?
Mhm.
It's memories. So one thing, it's super fun. And I recommend everyone who is, in favor of doing this stuff, because it was amazing for us. We recorded videos for our kids before they were born when my wife was pregnant, and we received news like it's a boy and a girl, it's whatever, it's, I don't know, 3 or 5 of them. And then you show those videos to your kids when they are, old enough to understand. And it's like, oh, this is exactly why I did it. Like I probably thought, what a dumb thing to do in the moment. It feels like, okay, why am I doing this? But it pays off to see their faces, their parents many times looking different than they look at the
Yeah.
present. My wife was blonde, now she's not. So it's like, it's memories, and that's super valuable.
Exactly. And you said something that I work with a lot of photographers and videographers, and it's like we're all trying to tell the story in our own artistic way. So it's like you have the photos, you have the videos. Now you have the written word, which I think some of us forget about, or, it's not as prominent as maybe it once was. So it's just nice to have that like whole collection, right, of different media and different ways of documenting your life and giving it meaning.
So what year are we talking about? When did you start this company?
This was 2020 when I
Oh,
began.
nice year. Before the
Yeah,
pandemic or
great
during the
year.
pandemic?
Great year. But I did end the stationery company the year at the end of 2019. So at least we didn't have a bunch of canceled weddings that all my peers were
Right,
dealing with.
right.
But I was like, hey, we can only go up from here. I think that's why it took me a few years before we even released our second journal. The first few years, we only had the engagement journal. And I think, I've been building really slow. It's not completely intentional. I would like to go faster. Like 0 to 5 was pretty slow, and 5 to 10, I would like to go a little faster personally. But, we were intentional. I did a ton of research and just waited for the right time, to get our legs after those rough couple of first years and say, okay, now we're going to release the marriage journal. Now we're going to release the pregnancy journal. And now I just kind of want to take off running. So
How did you, acquire customers? Was it, I believe in the pandemic, it wasn't in person because you used to work in that industry, so probably know a lot of couples, but how did you go to market strategy?
we started with Google Ads from day one. So that was my primary driver. And we also did influencer marketing and social media marketing, built our email list from day one. Tried to check all the boxes, or tried to try everything, really. That was my
Yeah.
mentality and still is. I haven't tried a YouTube channel yet or a podcast yet. I'm like, okay, those are some things like that we could still try. They're still in the back pocket. But Google really did well for us for those first few years of acquiring new customers. And then I think a challenge that I had was we were a single SKU, right? So unless you were coming back
Right.
to buy the gift, to buy the engagement journal as a gift, we didn't really have any other products for you. So that was the impetus to kind of meet the customer right in their, not only in their journey on the internet, but their journey in life, and meet them with the marriage journal and the pregnancy journal. And we're not trying to dictate that that's the direction you go, but we were just trying to meet
Yeah.
that group of people
Yeah.
who were taking that path in life.
Yeah.
So
It's not. Yeah, sorry, go on, man. I just wanted to add that, it's not only about what you said, that it's a single SKU company, but it's something that you won't rebuy unless it's a gift. Because I'm telling you this because I think it was in the previous season of the podcast, or in the previous before to that, I interviewed an 8-figure brand, and they only sell belts. And I asked them, why? And they thought about, selling some complementary stuff, but it's always, more challenges, more logistics, more rewards as well. But they didn't want that part. They were doing 8 figures with just belts and straps. The thing is, you can buy many belts for yourself, but a journal, you won't buy more than one unless you give them a good reason, as you recently did. When did you release the other journals?
marriage was 2023, I believe. So it did take a few years. And then last year was pregnancy, and then our first everyday positive journal, our first daily journal for anyone to use.
I believe it was a double effect, right? On one hand, you might have, I guess, you captured new customers as well as existing customers who were in a different stage of their lives, right?
Exactly. So hopefully the people who stuck around, they're like, okay, great, we have new products coming. But now I think we'll start to enter into a little bit of a new customer segment with our daily journal. It's more of like a gratitude, self-care, and a journal that you could definitely use and then buy again. But really a part of the strategy has been gifting for many years. All of the journals are highly gifted. I see all the gift messages that come through. And that's actually a good thing and a bad thing, right? Because then with remarketing, you're not necessarily getting the end user, you're getting who got them the journal.
Do,
So
do you
I
track
feel like
that
there's been
now?
a bit of a disconnect between like myself and knowing the actual end customer, because so many of them are gifted. I'm still working on that.
So a few comments, but the first one is, like, do you segment them internally, or can you identify them clearly, in regards to who is a customer, who is the end customer, and who is the gift giver?
Yes, last year, I think we implemented a post-purchase survey, which definitely gave us a
Oh, yeah.
clearer picture of that. And whereas previously it was just like if there was a gift note attached, but now it's a little bit more.
That helped a lot. And maybe you're doing this or maybe you're not. But, I think it makes sense. You mentioned the gift notes that happen within your platform, or and
Yes,
and and do you encourage them to send a virtual gift note through email as well?
I do not have that implemented, but I like that idea.
You'll get the information. I mean, of course, that note should be sent at the same time, or the same day at least they receive the, or one day after, I don't know, but sync it with the shipping, but it's a good I think idea to get the email address of the recipient and start marketing that person.
Right. Yes, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So I think it's the good thing about the business you're building, at least in my opinion, is that there are clear communities where you can find these people who are engaged, people who are, I don't know, what was the other, like, pregnant, you said? So
Mhm.
couples who were pregnant. So there are well-defined communities. I remember when we were pregnant, or when we were pregnant, I mean, both of us. I did have my big belly too, but so we were in some, back then, probably some Facebook groups, because even though we didn't use Facebook as much, it was one of the only places we found groups. Of course, there's Reddit and other forums as
Mhm.
well. But the thing is that brands should be aiming to finding their audience where they already hang out, because there you can not only interact with them, you can get a lot of golden nuggets as well
Mhm.
by scraping the data automatically, manually. So there are tools to scrape data from Reddit. One I love, I won't give the name, but it's basically that you type in the keywords of your audience, let's say pregnancy, wedding, engagement, whatever, and then you will find the subreddits that are in line with those keywords, and you can build audiences with many each audience could contain many subreddits, right? So once you build the audience within that tool, you can actually, get the through AI, everything is AI these days. Why not? You can get the summary of each type of conversation, like money talk,
Mhm.
pinpoint challenges. So you can get a sense of what they are talking about. And of course, with the paid plan, you can go to the source and read the full conversations. But that's a way of, being where your customers are, even if you don't interact with customers there. It's like trying to understand what they want and how they want it.
Right. And that's also a great way to do product development, to understand. It sounds exactly what I did when I was writing the marriage and pregnancy. I just interviewed a bunch of people and then got the themes, whereas I could have just gone to Reddit and got all the themes from there. I'll do that next time. But exactly, you can, make sure, validate that this is a challenge. This is what this group of people are talking about, and then I can meet you there and serve you this
And calling
product.
customers, it's a great practice that not many owners have. And I guess it's easier said than done, but calling customers goes a long way. It's free or inexpensive, and it builds rapport with customers, because the first thing people I talk with think is that they are bothering clients. And people don't typically, of course, I'm being generalistic here, but people don't typically feel that way. If we put ourselves in their shoes, in customers' shoes, we are all customers. You're
Mm-hmm.
somebody's customers in the end. And if we get a call from a brand saying, we are calling you from, I'm the founder, why not? And then I know you bought recently these, and I'm looking to, gathering feedback to improve. Do you mind if I take 5 minutes from your time to ask you a few questions?
Mm-hmm.
They'll help improve your experience and the customers who come next. Some people will say, I'm busy, call me later. Some people will say no, but many others will say, of course. And they'll tell their friends, this brand, call me. Because how cool is that? So you can start conversations about your brand as well. Not only the feedback, but you can start conversations as well.
Mm-hmm. And I think this also speaks to more founders showing up on social media, being more present. It's not just like a faceless brand. I had a friend and a collaborator. We did a product together specifically for the wedding industry, folks, wedding planners and wedding photographers. And she is like, Annette, they need to see your face. Like they need to buy from
Yeah.
you. Like they need to
But
buy
I
from
saw I
you.
saw you in a few videos, right? But I
Now
didn't
I'm
see you speaking
trying.
a lot. It was showing some stuff, some events, right?
Yeah, I'm making a bigger effort to definitely put myself out there and, get on TikTok, get on Reels, and just put out more content. I think another thing that's helped me with that is the launch of our Everyday Positive Journal, which is just like a journal that I can use, and necessarily I could just like film myself using it, or it's just like the barrier to entry is a little lower than like, well, I'm not pregnant, so I can't do the pregnancy journal, or it's like not engaged anymore, so that's not really me. But I think having this like new product has kind of unlocked this, like, I don't want to say easier, but it is just like more attainable, that I can just quick put my phone up on the tripod and like take a video of me journaling and get that out.
Something that has to do with what you said, when we were pregnant, we tried to educate ourselves in breastfeeding and breastfeeding for twins. And we read books and we went to some, presentations or talks. And the author of this book, who gave a presentation as well, and we attended, she always said that she couldn't do it. She educated herself because she underestimated that, because it's natural. Everyone knows how to breastfeed, she said, but it's a lie. It's not.
Right.
It's not that easy. And I saw it firsthand. It's not easy at all. So when you know a little bit about it, you understand that it's not rocket science, but it's not easy as people think, or as easy as people think. But this woman, she wasn't the greatest example. So she proved that she didn't need to be the expert just because she did it right. She was the expert because she did it wrong, and she took care of educating herself so other women don't have to do it wrong too. And she talks out loud about it because she's not hiding it. It's the main value proposition. It's like, I did it wrong. Don't do the same thing. This is what I learned. So you don't need to be engaged. You don't need to be pregnant. You just need to educate yourself enough and talk about it. That's my way of thinking, at least.
Yes, absolutely. And I do the research. I try to be as thorough as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And face or faceless brands, both could be successful. We all know faceless brands, like the most famous brands in the world, they don't have a face. Who's the Nike founder? You don't even know the name probably, or don't know his face. So, but these days we need to we need to use the levers that we have as founders. Use the size of your company to your advantage. If you're small, what can you do that those companies are not willing to do? One is going out there and generate content. You need to be scrappy, right? So again, whether to show your face or generate content or not, it's up to you, and you can be successful regardless. However, I haven't met a single founder who went for it and regret it. Those who do it, they say it's the best thing I did. In fact, I interviewed many of them, and one that I recall to this day because he builds in public. The brand is Frostbody. It's a 25-year-old founder, and the brand is probably doing, I don't know, $60 million or so. And the guy says, I wake up every single morning thinking about the highest lever action for my company. And it's creating TikToks. So I wake up, I create TikToks, and that's what I do because that's the highest return activity for me and for my company. And again, he has proven that, highly. So another founder, it's the brand is Little Saints. It's a mushroom-based cocktail company. Pretty cool. The two founders go everywhere, both online and offline, in events, dressed as mushrooms. So she said on the podcast, literally, she said, I don't care looking like an idiot. I will dress as mushrooms as many times as I need, and I will dance and do crazy stuff because I want to spread the word about my company. People have fun. That's the vibe we want to show, and that's what I'll do. So I'll do it every single day. So yeah.
Yes. If you're not talking about your company every day, you're doing something wrong. Like some mentor told me that, like, you just have to be talking constantly about it.
I mean, if you think people could benefit from what you offer, why not screaming that out loud?
Right.
That's at least what I think. But anyway, so you do Google Ads, right? But what about Meta? Have you tried Meta Ads? Because just full disclosure, is the number one platform for most brands I talk to. It's the number one platform that works for them. So have you tried Meta and it didn't work?
So yes, I did try Meta year 1 and year 5. So this year, I took a long break and I did some A/B testing. I think perhaps my thought is that I'm not spending enough money and I'm testing too short. I'm very hesitant because my most recent ad had a 0.1% conversion. So I was like, I need to pull this. I can't. Money is flying out the door. And at least with Google, it was a little bit more, it fluctuated, but it always came back above 1. So, but like with Meta, I haven't cracked that code. And, I've done a bit of research and talked to other founders, and they've had success with Meta. I think I haven't given the platform enough probably time to learn the learning phase, and I'm too risk adverse to let it go for
Yeah,
so
no, I mean, you gotta be. That's how you grow, protecting what you have. Growth at all cost. It's not something that I advise companies to do. So that's smart. What I can tell you about Meta is that without getting into the nitty-gritty is that, you know, on Meta, you need to spend enough money to generate conversions every single day, multiple conversions every single day. So if your cost per purchase or CPA, let's say $30, and you
long.
spend $30 or 40 or $50 a day, you can get as max, one conversion a day. And that's probably not going to be super fun to look at when you look back at the end of a week. It's like 7 days passed and, it's only seven purchases top.
Mm-hmm.
Probably five, probably two, probably none. So you kind of, the algorithm, as you said, kind of learn. And Meta, what requires these days, I would say, is not only budget to generate that, it's creative diversity. For instance, if you create, this conversation, for example, I can send it over to you after this, of course, and you can clip it and you can generate podcast style ads talking about it. You can record yourself. You can do whatever, statics, video, lo-fi, polished. The point is that you have message diversity both in formats and angles. You don't need to run 1,000 ads. I see some gurus online saying, rules that apply to everyone and they don't apply to everyone. So it's not 1,000 ads or nothing, but it's enough. Meta values advertisers and prioritizes advertisers that provide the algorithm with more options. More options is more ads. So yeah, if you run one ad and it's static, probably you won't have as much success as if you run, I don't know, 5 or 10 at the same time, and you will learn faster. This is time or money, as always, right?
Right.
But yeah, I advise you give it a try when the time is right, with the right budget as well, and with the right content. Without the right content, I couldn't do it because it's actually the best platform for almost every brand I know.
Right. Yes, I need to get over myself and just do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And what about email? I guess email must be big for you, right?
Yeah, email's huge. And we this year introduced a new email newsletter called The Mindful Edit, as I'm kind of positioning us as more in the mental wellness space and journaling for mental health, that have been getting like excellent open rates and better click rates. So my click rates were very low last year. And so I was like just doing the audit on like, okay, well, that means like the content isn't resonating, maybe it's not a sale that they want, because I was just doing a lot of typical marketing emails, right? Just like product emails.
Right.
And I want to do better this year is be a content creator. So we're creating a newsletter. We're actually giving you value in this newsletter. So it's like a quick format. It's like 3 journal prompts. It's called Write It, Say It, Try It, Explore It. So there's some journal prompts to write, there's some affirmations to say out loud, there's some action items to actually take, and then if you want to explore it, we include like 3 or 4 more links on the topic at the bottom. So that's helped increase click rate because it's not just going to one of our products. And that's like, here's all the other value that we can provide the customer, right? Without necessarily having to circle up to a product, which some do, but not all. So it's kind of like,
Right.
giving them that, free education, if you will, to make them more loyal to your brand. Like, we're going to learn something here. It's not just going to be a hard sale or free shipping.
That's amazing. So I guess there's a lot of you have like, I can think already that there's a lot of things to say in this, well, what people call, full funnel approach, because some people might not be into journaling and you might be, generating content to educate them on the benefits of doing that, right? Some people might be into that, but they are not taking the leap and they are not doing it. So that might be something else. And some people are doing that only with a blank page. So you might show the benefits of doing that with something else that is not a blank page. And it's about habit generation, as well, because you need to generate a habit. And then those who are customers as well, that, that they bought the journal, at least for themselves, first off, probably to keep that habit of writing and not, doing one and once and then never again. Like,
Exactly.
depending on what the journal they bought, different things or ideas to spark conversation. So is that more or less what you do or what you have in mind?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't feel like, especially on social media, I don't necessarily need to convince people to journal. I think I want to find people who are already invested in like
Okay.
bettering themselves. And, if you don't like journaling, you don't like journaling. Like, I don't necessarily want to be like convincing people, but I just want to be meeting the people and like finding that customer who already has that either in their life, or they want to try it, or they tried it once and they want to come back to it, which I think there's a ton of people in that
Yeah.
category. So, people who just have no interest in journaling, like maybe we're just, there's journal in our brand name. Maybe we're not the brand for you.
No, but maybe what I was trying to suggest is that maybe there are some triggers in life, like again, a baby. In my case, my wife had never journaled, or however we say that before the kids. She had never thought of that. And then this happened, and she said, I want to keep these memories in writing because everything else will get lost. We did the videos and she wanted to do the journaling as well. So she didn't have that she didn't used to do it, and then she did because she was triggered. And maybe there are some things in life that triggers you into changing your behavior, and this could be one of them.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's so interesting. Or we introduce it to them in one season and then, they might continue journaling after that.
In clearly it's very, very top of the funnel audiences. It's not those warm or hot audiences, right? But it's educating people. I remember once working for, it was, these organic food companies. And we had a lot of content towards people who were trying to do the research about, eating organic, right? So they weren't ready to buy. We knew that, but then we were educating them, and many of them, of course, over time converted. It's not
Mhm.
something that happens fast, but again, you have people here in the funnel going through your stuff, sharing it with others, and at some point something happens in their life that they are triggered, and they think about you because you're top of mind through your content, and they
Mhm.
decide to go for it. Again, it's not the immediate purchase, but they are there in your sphere, in your
Right.
ecosystem.
Exactly. And that's why I'm excited about broadening our scope a little bit more to just like intentional living, like goal setting, mindfulness, because even though those sound broad, then we can like start there, bring people in, and then hone in and say, and this is how. And really, at the end of the day, it's so that you can feel better. Like journaling makes you feel better. Gratitude journaling has been proven to improve your mood. So we're also using what I've learned from just my own research with scientific studies that this actually can help people. And I think they're searching for that right now. Like, especially this year, last year, we want to feel better, right? And how can we do that and take that into our own control? And that
One
we
more
do have
thing,
control. We are responsible for our own well-being, and really taking
yeah,
taking that on.
and one more thing for what it's worth. It's very personal, but I think it can many people might relate. When I write, whatever, not journaling only, when I write or when I speak something out loud, I think better. And the problem in 2025 is that we don't write anymore. We rely on AI, all of us.
Hmm.
Like I read the other day a meme, like we all say that we need to use AI, we share the tools, but when we use AI, we want to hide it. We don't want to DM dash and all the stuff, we want to hide it. Like AI didn't help me write this, but we all
Right.
use it. So we are writing less. And I think when we write less, it's not the same. We don't express ourselves in the same way. We don't, let's say, download ideas into paper or whatever, notepad. And this is probably one of the only chances to really, not rely on AI and write something meaningful
Hmm.
for yourself, and even more
Exactly.
on paper that we do even
Exactly.
less these days.
And I've thought too about, do I create an app? Or, AI could be amazing for like prompting you, like, oh, you wrote these 5 things during this week, and then coming up with a smart prompt to talk about those things. I do think there could be potential, but then I go back to like, why did I start this company? And it's to put your thoughts on paper and document and have this record. And, it's the process, right? So I think you're exactly right that, while there was this, in the past few years, this kind of comeback to analog things, right, as a trend, I think people, of course, there's like the early adopters to everything tech, but I think there's also the group that wants to just shut their phone off and shut their laptop and just, take a minute to download their brain exactly and get it
And
out
being
there.
okay with being okay with not being perfect, because none of us is, we are not perfect, we're imperfect, right?
Mhm.
And we see that clearly when we talk about, visually, our image. And there were many conversations around the world about, what social media sparks in people, and we want to be that model we see. But nobody talks what perfection looks like in writing these days with AI. Everything is perfect because I do it too, right? But not with that intention. But now I think about it, it's like I write imperfectly, both in Spanish, English, doesn't matter the language. It's like, but I then put it into AI and it's like, it make it better.
Mhm.
And then I take that, that what AI will give me as a result will be the good version, the perfect version, not mine. It'll be with all the emojis, all the bullet points, whatever, the format,
Mhm.
the perfect thing. This is our place as well, to be ourselves and not to be perfect.
Mhm.
It's for us.
Right. I find myself having to be intentional about like, okay, this needs to actually come from my voice and like not go through the filter at all. Like, I wrote a little caption today on a reel and it was like a couple paragraph caption and I didn't edit it. I mean, I edited it personally, but I didn't put it in ChatGPT. And like now we're going to, or any, AI that you decide, but now we're going to be tasked with the question, do I do this on my own or do I put this through AI? And does it need to come from my voice? Is that the best use of my time? Well, obviously, if you're a writer, you're writing, it should be your voice, right? But if
Yeah,
maybe you're doing some sort of research, then you can make that decision. So right now, those are going to be the decisions that we make instead of always choosing to write something because we don't have to anymore.
amazing. Okay, so this was an amazing conversation so far, and I wanted to thank you for explaining everything that has been going on with your company so far. What's next for the coming years? Let's say 2025 and 26. If you have 2027 planned, excellent. But realistically speaking, for the rest of the year in 2026, maybe.
Yes. The biggest new thing for our company is that I'm going to be taking a bigger role in speaking engagements and doing workshops, really engaging with people on site, in person or virtual, but making myself more available, I think, and doing education, like I mentioned, through our email, through social media, and then through courses that I'm going to write or workshops that I have one written. I plan to write 2 to 3 more and then take those into the world. And then with that, build, design and produce products that roll up to those workshops. So one will be a goal setting journal and more of like a holistic wellness journal that talks about physical, emotional, and social wellness. I think those will be the three themes. Maybe there will be additional, but really helping people to take a look at their lives. And help them live with more intention, mindfulness, and really unlock all the power of journaling for their own mental health and well being and moving into that space. And of course, we'll have our engagement, marriage, and pregnancy collection, our heirloom collection, still hopefully humming along, but moving forward to serve more people, a little bit more broad audience, and just again, make products and then take them out into the world through these workshops. So that's what I'm excited about in the next year. We're already doing it. I've done a few workshops already this year. Want to book some more of those and continue writing, really.
That's amazing. That's great. Are those in person or virtual?
Yes, I've done most of them in person and 2 virtual.
There's nothing like the personal connection with your audience. So that's amazing. So to wrap up, I like asking my guests here in the podcast if they have a book to share with the audience, and we put together a list of books every single year. I have found, at least myself, fascinating books to read. So I was wondering, do you have any that come to mind to share with the audience?
I do, and it's one I recently read. It's called Mindset by Carol Dweck, and she is the leading researcher on the growth mindset. And I think most entrepreneurs probably already have the growth mindset, but it was a great reminder and to see the research behind how we're kind of taught as children, how we think we can achieve things. And having the growth mindset means that we will, like, with our effort that we put forth, we can achieve what we want. So it's not just like, oh, I'm bad at this, I'll never be good at this. That's the fixed mindset. And I think with entrepreneurship and running your own business, there's so many things you might think you're just not that good at. But to get ahead and to be successful, I think you have to really adopt this growth mindset of like, well, I'm just going to try it. What lever? Like we were talking about the levers, I'm just going to find my way through. And that's another thing about, entrepreneurs and the growth mindset is that they love challenge. So instead of where the fixed mindset, you want to find what you're good at and stay there and stay in that lane. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that either, because sometimes that feels really good. And some days I'm like, I just wish I could have a day where I feel like I did something like that I was in like my zone of genius. But we chose the different world, like running businesses, and we have to embrace the challenge. So I think she just puts it together in her book so well, as just a good reminder, if nothing else, that like you can think your way to growth and through challenge.
Yeah, I love that. So it's a new book for the list, so I appreciate that.
Well, good.
So again, it was a pleasure to chat with you. It was a very interesting conversation, and I mean it. And please tell the audience where they can go to learn more about you and your company.
Absolutely. Our website is seasonjournals.com. We're on Instagram and TikTok and Pinterest and all the good things. Sign up for that new newsletter, The Mindful Edit, if you're interested in anything about wellness. And we'll try to keep it pretty high level and hope to see you there.
Amazing. So for those of you in the audience, first off, thank you for listening to this part. And second, you can go to the DTCinsider.com, find the episode if you are not already there, and you will find all the show notes, including the website, social handles, and the newsletter, of course, and the book as well. Thank you again for being on the podcast. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you so much, Brian. I appreciate it.
This episode was brought to you by BSR Digital. We help DTC brands grow through paid ads and email marketing campaigns. If you'd like us to help your business grow, head on over to bsrdigital.com and schedule a call with us.